We see them on the podium. We see the medal, the confetti, the roar of the crowd. We call that moment victory, but the victory wasn't won there. It was won in 1,000 silent moments no one will ever see. In the dark of a morning, when the body begged to stay in bed, in the repetition of a single, tedious motion, long after mastery was achieved, in the quiet of a room, alone with a dream that felt, at times, like a delusion. The difference between a participant and a champion is not primarily a physical one. It is not just about talent or genetics. It is a landscape of the mind, a specific, deliberate, and often brutal internal architecture. It is a mindset that understands a fundamental truth: the goal is not the destination, the goal is the process. The champion falls in love with the rigor. They find a strange, sacred beauty in the strain. The burn in their muscles is not a signal to stop, but a confirmation that they are alive, that they are transforming. The track, the court, the studio, it is not a place they go to prove themselves. It is a sanctuary where they become themselves. This mindset does not hear the word failure. It only hears data. A missed shot is not a moral indictment. It is feedback on form. A lost competition is not an ending. It is the most valuable chapter in the textbook of improvement. The champion's mind is a relentless scientist, coldly and curiously dissecting every setback for the priceless information it contains, and perhaps most importantly, this mindset is utterly selfish in its self-care and profoundly generous in its self-belief. It knows that to pour out, you must be filled up. It prioritizes rest with the same ferocity it dedicates to training. It protects its focus like a sacred flame, understanding that a distracted mind is a weak mind. We are captivated by the spectacle of victory, the raised arms, the flash of the gold medal, the eruption of crowd noise. These are the images that define success in our collective imagination. But this focus on the pinnacle moment is a dangerous illusion. It creates the belief that achievement is an event, a singular point of arrival. The champion knows this is a lie. The podium is not where the victory is won, it is merely where it is displayed. The true architecture of greatness is constructed in the hidden, uncelebrated, and often brutal geography of the daily process. This is the realm of the 5 a.m. alarm in a dark, silent house. It is the 10th repetition of a drill when the body is already screaming in protest. It is the solitary hour spent analyzing a previous failure, dissecting the footage with a cold, analytical eye long after the audience has gone home. These are the moments that truly build a champion, and they share one common feature: they are entirely unseen. There is no applause for the extra set of squats, no trophy for the mental visualization of a perfect routine, no headline for the choice of a nutrient-rich meal over a comforting one. The mindset of a champion is defined by this sacred commitment to the shadow work. It is a profound understanding that the quality of the public performance is an exact and unerring reflection of the quality of the private preparation. The process is not a means to an end, it is the holy ground upon which the self is rebuilt. To fall in love with the process is to find a strange and powerful joy in the very things others would avoid: the discomfort, the monotony, the sheer effort. It is to understand that the burn of lactic acid is not the enemy, but the signal of a boundary being pushed and a new limit being established. The champion does not endure the process in order to reach the goal. The champion immerses themselves so completely in the process that the goal becomes an inevitable byproduct, the logical conclusion of 1,000 small, perfect, and unseen executions. The victory was already assured long before they stepped into the arena. Secured in the quiet faith of 1,000 mornings, they chose the path of most resistance. The pursuit of any significant goal is a landscape littered with the potential for failure. For most, failure is a stop sign. It is a verdict, a source of shame, a definitive statement that reads, "You are not good enough." It carries an emotional weight that can paralyze further action. The champion's mindset performs a radical alchemy on this concept. It systematically strips failure of its emotional terror and reconstitutes it as neutral, invaluable data. In the laboratory of the champion's mind, a missed shot is not a moral failing. It is a precise data point on trajectory, form, and follow-through. A lost competition is not an ending. It is a comprehensive diagnostic report. It reveals weaknesses in strategy, gaps in conditioning, and vulnerabilities in technique that training had previously masked. This mindset approaches a setback with the cold, curious detachment of a scientist. There is no room for self, pity, or blame, because those are emotional indulgences that cloud the data. The question is never, why did I fail? But always, what does this failure teach me? This transforms the entire emotional ecosystem of the journey. The fear of failure, which stops so many in their tracks, loses its power. If an outcome, even a negative one, simply provides more information for the next iteration, then there is no such thing as a true dead end. Every experience, win or lose, becomes fuel for the engine of improvement. A rival's victory is not a humiliation. It is a live demonstration of a more effective technique. A personal mistake is not a wound. It is a spotlight illuminating the exact area that requires more focused attention. This relentless data collection is what creates an unstoppable learning curve. While others are licking their wounds or basking in temporary glory, the champion is already deconstructing the event, extracting every lesson, and updating their internal blueprint for success. The mindset that builds champions does not see a world of successes and failures. It sees a world of feedback loops. It understands that mastery is not a linear path upward, but a spiral of continuous refinement, where even moving downward for a time provides the momentum and perspective to ultimately reach a higher peak. The fall is not the opposite of rising. It is an integral part of the ascent. The common perception of a champion is one of relentless, single-minded exertion, a being who constantly pours out energy until the tank is empty. This is a caricature that misunderstands the true engine of sustained excellence. The champion's mindset operates on a more sophisticated principle, that of being radically selfish in self, care to be selflessly generous in performance. This is not a contradiction. It is the fundamental law of energy economics for high achievers. This selfishness is a disciplined, non-negotiable commitment to filling the reservoir from which all effort flows. It is the understanding that the body and mind are the primary instruments of achievement, and to mistreat them is to sabotage the entire enterprise. This manifests as a ferocious protection of sleep, viewing it not as lost time, but as a critical phase of physical repair and cognitive consolidation. It appears as a meticulous focus on nutrition, seeing food not as pleasure but as fuel, precisely engineered for peak performance. It is the courage to say no to social distractions and draining engagements, not out of arrogance, but from a clear, eyed assessment that their focus is a finite and precious resource that must be guarded. This protective, almost selfish boundary setting is the prerequisite for the profound generosity required in the arena. It is what allows for the selfless giving, the last ounce of effort in the final minute of a game, the complete emotional and physical investment in the performance, the unwavering focus for the duration of the competition. You cannot pour from an empty cup. The champion ensures their cup is overflowing so that they can give abundantly without depleting the source. This mindset rejects the culture of burnout and martyrdom. It recognizes that rest is not idleness, it is a form of advanced training. Recovery is not a pause in the process, it is an essential part of the process. This strategic selfishness is, therefore, the highest form of respect for their craft and their potential. It is the acknowledgement that they are the steward of a rare gift, and their first duty is to protect and nurture the vessel that contains it, so that the gift itself can be given to the world in its fullest, most powerful expression. The belief that fuels a champion is often mistaken for blind optimism or a brash, loud arrogance. In reality, it is something far more substantial and quiet. It is an unshakable faith, but this faith is not built on wishful thinking or abstract hope. It is a faith constructed brick by brick with the hard, cold evidence of personal history. A champion's belief in themselves is a conclusion drawn from data. The data point is every single morning they chose to train when they wanted to quit. It is every repetition they completed with proper form despite fatigue, It is every time they reviewed their mistakes without flinching and made a plan to correct them. This internal narrative is not, "I hope I can do this." It is, "I have done the work that proves I can do this." This evidence-based faith creates a psychological fortress when doubt arises, as it does for everyone. The champion's mind does not engage in a philosophical debate about potential. It simply refers to the logbook. It recalls the last time they felt this same doubt and pushed through it. It remembers the specific instance they overcame a similar obstacle. This faith is a kind of earned confidence, a trust in their own process and their own resilience that has been validated time and again. It is the voice of a coach who has witnessed the entire grueling journey, not the voice of a fan who only sees the final result. This is why champions can appear so calm under immense pressure. The pressure is not a new, terrifying unknown. It is simply the final test in a long series of exams they have already prepared for. The outcome is not a question mark. It is the logical result of the evidence they have already accumulated. Their belief is not a fragile bubble that can be popped by a single setback. It is a diamond forged under the immense pressure of countless challenges and now virtually impossible to break. They don't need to shout their confidence from the rooftops because the proof is not in their words, but in the silent, irrefutable record of their actions. This deep, quiet knowing is what allows them to step onto the field, into the arena, or up to the starting line not with nervous hope, but with the calm certainty of someone who has already done the hardest part of the work long before anyone was watching. The final, and perhaps most defining, characteristic of the champion's mind set is its profound understanding of the relationship between struggle and peace. We often see the struggle, the gritted teeth, the sweat, the visible strain, and assume it is a state of suffering to be endured on the path to a future, peaceful victory. The champion inverts this entire paradigm. For the true champion, the struggle is the peace. The focused intensity required to push through a final, burning sprint is not a disruption of tranquility. It is a form of deep, active meditation. In that moment of maximum effort, there is no room for the noise of the outside world, for the chatter of doubt, or for the anxiety of the future. There is only the body, the breath, and the immediate task. This is a state of pure, unmediated presence. The mind becomes silent not through forced emptiness, but through being completely and utterly occupied by a single, purposeful demand. The champion finds a strange, sacred stillness within the storm of exertion. The weight room, the track, the pool, these are not places of torture, but sanctuaries of clarity. This is why they can appear so centered amidst the chaos of competition. The external pressure, the roaring crowd, the high stakes, these are merely variations of the internal environment they have cultivated 1,000 times in practice. They have learned to access a core of calm not by avoiding difficulty, but by moving directly into its center. The struggle is not the price they pay for peace later. It is the very activity through which they access peace now. This transforms the entire journey. The work is no longer a grueling means to a distant end. It becomes a daily practice of mindfulness, a moving meditation that grounds them in the present moment and forges an unbreakable connection between mind, body, and purpose. The victory on the podium is fleeting, but the ability to find profound peace in the heart of profound effort, that is the champion's ultimate and most enduring reward.